Hello everybody, this is Muzaffar and welcome to the sixth video of my Echo Framework series. In this video, we will create a database connection so our blog is able to connect to the database. So this is where we left off last time, and for database I will be using this SQLX package. It is quite simple to use and I will also use this libpq as a Postgres driver together with SQLX package. So let's start by installing the SQLX package in our application. So let me copy this install command and go back to the terminal and just paste it. So it will just add it in our golang file, and then just go and use it in our main file to connect to the database. So remember, we have these environment variables for database and we can use them to connect to the database. So in our main file, right after the CFG, we can connect to the database. So connect to the database here, and here we can use SQLX. Let me import it. So I'll just copy it from here and import it here. So we'll use SQLX's connect method, and it accepts driver name and data source name, also known as DSN. So let's see. So the driver name, we already have config for this. This is the config name. We can use it from cfg dot db driver. That's the one. Yep. And the last one is DSN. And if you remember, we also created URL first initially to connect to the database from the terminal, and this is the URL. So basically we can use same DSN, same URL to connect to the database in our main file. Let's copy it from this make file and try to create it. So I think instead of creating it here, we could also keep it in config file. So in config file, we can create a new method, and that method can basically construct this URL for us. So we just call it from our main file, right? So let's create a function for this env config, and the name is, let's copy it from the connect function itself, data source name, right? Yeah. So let's keep it as data source name, and it is going to return string, and let's use sprintf to create it. So let's copy it again from makefile and just paste it here for reference. So the way it looks is this way. So we can just replace these variables with the format specifier string, and here also let's replace all of these with format specifiers. Even for the last one, let me copy this and edit here. And finally, let's add those environments from this config receiver. So from C, the first one, if you remember, was db driver, so we can do db driver. Second is username, so c dot user db user, and db password, db host, db port, db name, and finally the SSL mode, c.db SSL mode. So yeah, that should be good enough. Let me remove this. I just realized something. So I think we made a mistake in our make file. Instead of db username, it should be db user. Let's correct it in make file. We can verify it in env. It is db user and db pass. So let's update the make file, db user, db pass. Okay, that should be fine. Let's go back and remove these. So yeah, if we just call this, it is going to give us correctly formatted DSN. So yeah, let's go back, copy this and go back to our main file. And after db driver, we just need to pass DSN. So here we can do cfg dot data source name. So this should be good enough, and it is returning the database connection and an error. Let's go into the connect function, and here it is returning db and an error, right? So let's close this and let's create a variable db and an error. Let's handle error here. Error nil. Then we just do log.title and we just pass the error here. All right, this should have done the trick. I'm not sure why I was passing a string here for the error, but let's keep it consistent. Just return error here instead of error string, right? Because if you remember, fatal is accepting the interface, so it can be error as well, right? So yeah, that's good enough. Let's try to ping the database here. So db.ping, and if we see it is returning an error, so we can do error not terminal. And here again we can do fatal and error. So if we were not able to ping the database, then we'll just return an error here, right? So if we receive this or this error, we know we are not able to connect to the database. So let's go back to the terminal and try to start the application. So yes, we got a fatal error here, and what it says is unknown driver forgotten import. Oh yeah, so remember what I mentioned earlier, we also need to use this PQ driver to be able to talk to the database. So let's copy this installation command and install it. Now should be added in our go.mod file. Yes. Now another thing we can do is check the implementation. Yes, along with this one it was also importing this, so we can also do the same here. So in here we can import PQ, and we are doing underscore here since we don't need to call anything from this PQ library. We just need it to do everything from its init function, right? So that's why we need to put underscore here and let it do the magic from its init function. So yeah, everything should be good by now. Let's go back to the terminal and try to start the application again. All right, this time we have different error which is saying dial-up connection refused. Oh, it might be because the database is not up. So let's do pg status. All right, it was not running. Let's try to start it. So start. Okay, now let's try to start the application again. And yes, this time we are able to connect to the database because we did not receive any error. So yeah, this all looks good. Okay, so that's about it for this video. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in next video.